going on, everybody? This is the Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. It is Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. We have Avery with us. It is Wednesday, November 22nd, the day before Thanksgiving. We have a monster 15-game slate tonight. I don't know how you want me to approach this, because if I talk about every game, this pod is going to go on until Friday at 6 p.m. Yeah, that's your foot. It's part of your anatomy. So the games that I really like, I'm going to touch on a decent amount. The games I don't, I'm probably going to just skip over. If there's a game that I did not talk about that you want me to go over, ask me at the end when I'm done with all the games. Just a quick recap. Last night I saw some of the daily face-off. I can do position by position if you want. I saw a daily face-off pod listener won his first GPP yesterday. That's awesome. I love seeing stuff like that. Our members in the premium chat, they also had very successful nights, and that's really what I look for. Of course, I like to win, but if I'm the only one winning and no one else is winning, then I'm not being transparent and my product isn't very good. So I try to give the best advice I can, and I'd rather you guys win than me. I had a good night last night as well. So let's hope for a nice repeat, and let's hop right into the slate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the games, and then I'll go, position by position for cash at the end. How about that? What do you think? Is that a good idea? Yeah? Okay. Yeah? Okay. First game of the night. Okay. First game of the night, we have the Minnesota Wild traveling to Buffalo to face the Sabres. It is going to be Devin Dubnyk against Chad Ochocinco Johnson. So for me, when I was looking at morning skate, I've admittedly been running around for the past few hours, so my notes are from this morning. So if something is a tad bit different, feel free to correct me. From what I saw this morning, me too, it's going to be Granlund, Zucker, and Koivu on a line, and then it's going to be Stahl, Niederreiter, and maybe Charlie Coyle. You want to get down? Okay. We'll let Avery get down, which would be good for me. There you go. Go play. You got your toys. You got your Sour Patch Kids. So I would assume Coyle's going to slot in the top six. Okay, so take what you want. I'm going to assume Coyle's going to slot in on the top six, but still my preferred line for Minnesota tonight is Granlund, Zucker, and Koivu. I'm not sure how Buffalo's going to match up, especially with their lines mixed up. But none of the defensive lines for Buffalo really scare me at all. Chad Johnson's in net. Is it Koivu? Yeah, that's what I said, right? What did I say? Nino, Koivu, Granlund, Zucker, Coyle, Stahl. Okay, yes, I made a mistake. But still, preferred would be Nino, Granlund, Koivu. I like that line much better. I would assume they're going to see depth, if you can call it depth, on the Buffalo Sabres. Their blue line is terrible. They're giving up a ton of high danger scoring chances. I think, the Zucker, the Koivu, Granlund, Nino line is my preferred target. I do like that second line as well. If you want to go there for the salary savings, you can. But in terms of top plays, Minnesota 2 is definitely up there for me. Even on this 15-game slate, they're probably up in the top 10, maybe even top 5 plays for me tonight. I think, with the Wings, or with the Wild getting healthy, Coyle back is a huge boost. I like Suter and Spurgeon on the blue line. Dumba if you need a punt. I think Dubnyk is a good play. I think this is a Minnesota game all the way. Dubnyk is a great price tonight, $7,400. I think you can roll him out in GPPs for sure. I know he's been struggling on and off, but this is a good matchup, especially with the price. I don't mind the Buffalo top line. Like, I never not like the Eichel line. Eichel, Kane, and Pominville look like they're back together. And I like that line, but if Housley is going to match up the Eichel line with the Koivu line, that's just not smart coaching. I don't see any reason to believe why he's a good coach right now. Go ahead. It's at the edge of the bed. Go get it. So, yeah, go ahead. So that makes no sense to me from a coaching perspective. I think that bumps down Buffalo one a bit, especially if they do hard match Eichel with Koivu. I have no issue with that on the Minnesota side. I think they're going to dominate that line. Eichel is $6,700, which is a great price for him, and I don't mind him as a one-off. I just don't know if this is the best matchup for Buffalo tonight. I mean, they are capable. They're going to be low owned. I mean, everyone's going to be low owned tonight, with an exception of a couple. So let me just touch on that briefly. With 15-game slate, okay, I think you don't have to overthink things. I think you go with the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And listen, I remember a 15-game slate last year was in January. I had a lot of 10 p.m. starts. Like, all my players are starting at 10 p.m. And a 7 o'clock game, the Carolina Hurricanes, Sebastian Aho had a hat trick. That line went absolutely bonkers. I think as a line, they put up 30 points, but they were all like 1% and 2% owned. At the end of the night, they weren't even on some of the winning lineups. So there's going to be multiple ways to win tonight. There's going to be a ton of combinations that win, because especially in the 3 max and the single entries, like it's going to be, if there's 30 teams, what if like 19 go off? There's going to be so many combinations to win. I don't think you have to overthink this tonight. Trust your research, trust your gut, and I don't think you have to get cute. I mean, you can. I mean, if you like to get cute, you like to, get your all sparkly on, but I don't think you really need to go there. But yeah, buddy. You got it? Yeah. Cool. All right. So, I like Buffalo one tonight, but make sure you read Adam's line matching article. If there are going to be hard matched against the Koivu line, that does bump them down a little bit for me. They're still up there, probably top 10 if they're not against Koivu. Although they are a little pricey. I mean, there are a bunch of pricier lines. From a value standpoint, I don't know. You'd have to get a little creative to get them in, but I like Dumba tonight as a punt. He's definitely viable punt for Minnesota. Chad Johnson, 7,000. I don't know if you need to go there. Minnesota's getting healthy. They're a scary offensive team when they're healthy. I think you can fade Chad Johnson, especially with other goalies right around that same price. So let's move on to the second game of the night. We have Edmonton traveling to Detroit. Edmonton's on a back-to-back. They absolutely got pummeled by the Blues last night, 8-3. It wasn't even that close. Edmonton scored 2 late goals. They look terrible. They have issues. You're okay? They have defensive issues. Their team's a mess. So let's just get it out of the way. I don't have too much interest in this game. Upsie-daisy. I think maybe they turn around at some point, but they really need defensive help. They have awful contracts. Lucic's contract is absolutely terrible. Nice job, Avery. Chris Russell's contract is absolutely terrible. But yeah, from this game, huge slate. I don't really like using Edmonton back-to-back on the road. If you want to use McDavid, obviously he's the best player in the NHL, arguably. So you can use him as a one-off Draisaitl if he's back with McDavid. Thank you. Other than that, wow, that's really chewy. Okay. I don't really have too much interest in Detroit tonight. I don't know if you need to go there. For the price, there's much better value. They are going to see, I think it's Talbot, right? Yeah, Talbot's, he got yanked after 3 shots because I guess they knew they were on a back-to-back and they didn't really want Talbot to take one for the team and then have Brossoit play tonight. But I think a really contrarian stack would be, Detroit 1 tonight. I don't know if you even need to go there. Zetterberg, Nyquist, and Mantha. I mean, I do like that line. I wish, Blashill wasn't a donkey, but the top line is definitely viable. Middle of the road, it's gonna be, super contrarian. I don't know if you have to go there tonight, but I'm just giving you options there. But overall, interest in this game, not very high. Goalies in this game, interest not very high. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Toronto Maple Leafs traveling to Florida to face the... They could, yeah. But I don't like how Anthony Ciu got moved down to the 4th line and it's Justin Abdelkader on the 2nd line. That drives me nuts. It's going to be Freddie Anderson against... Avery, come on. It's going to be Freddie Anderson against Roberto Luongo. This is an interesting game. I love Florida tonight. The top line, Barkov, Huberdeau, and Evgeny Dadonov, I think, are up there with the elite lines in the NHL. I think, you have the Tampa ones, you have St. Louis one as the absolute elite, and then you have a nice second-tier group of lines, and I think Florida one leads that list. They're very explosive. What? I think, I think this is a really good spot for them at home. They're going to avoid Kadri. I think this game could be very open. Yeah, I think it could be like a 4-3, 5-4 type of game. Yeah, I mean, listen, ownership on a 15-game slate, even if Florida's chalky, you can differentiate somewhere else, Just because you're using a chalk line doesn't mean your lineup's going to be chalky. So I love the top line. The Barkov line's probably going to go up against the Matthews line. It's normal Florida one, yeah. So Barkov's probably going to go against the Matthews line, which is a good matchup for Florida. Definitely want some Florida one tonight. Avery, can you please let me do this and watch your iPad? Thank you. Now, Florida 2 is interesting for me. I don't think I'm going to go there. I don't think it's necessary. Okay. Just, from a salary relief perspective, if you're trying to, jam in Tampa, second line, Vinny Trocheck is $6,000. I think he's a decent one-off. Nick Bjugstad is $3,600. I'm a huge Bjugstad fan. I just think, he needs to get consistent top 6 minutes. And then, they're with Henrik Haapala. He's min-priced, $2,500. I don't think on this huge slate you really need to go there. He's an unknown. I probably fade that spot, but, I can definitely see Trocheck as a one-off or Bjugstad and Trocheck as a mini. It does... Okay, it does provide a little bit of salary relief. Florida on the blue line, I think, Yandel is the preferred option, then Ekblad at 4,300. I'm not really big on any of the punt options for Florida tonight. On the Toronto side, there's two lines that I really like. The Matthews line, obviously, and then the JVR Bozak Marner line is definitely in play as well. They're cheap. They'll let you get in other expensive lines. Throwing salary to the wind, I'm always going to take the Matthews line because Matthews is the best player on the team. Nylander has been struggling. Matthews is probably going to have some ownership, but that line as a whole won't. If you're spending up, I would go the Matthews line. If you need less salary, I'd go JVR Bozak Marner. On the blue line, if you're using the top line, I would use Morgan Riley. If you're using the JVR line, I would go Jake Gardner.
What is he, Daddy?
That's a toy. In net, I really don't have too much interest.
What is that?
Yeah, I did notice that. So that doesn't really change anything for me. That probably bumps the third line or that line for me. I prefer Marlowe to Bozak tenfold. That move makes sense. So it doesn't change how I feel about the lines. It's still going to be Matthews top, and then that line not too far behind. Roberto Luongo is an interesting play. We're going to have to wait until warm-ups anyway. But, that doesn't really change much. If it is Marlowe in between those two, it does bump up that Toronto line for me a little bit. Roberto Luongo is an interesting GPP play for me. You saw the Leafs struggle to score last game, 7,300. He is going to see some shot volume. You can make a GPP option flyer there. Freddie Anderson, 7,700. He has been playing decent hockey recently. I don't know if I want to spend the 7,700 to fate in Florida. But again, if you're using the Leafs, I think you can use Freddie as a GPP option. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Boston Bruins traveling to New Jersey to face the Devils. Kyle Palmieri is out. He broke his foot. So it looks like Jesper Bratt is going to be on the top line with Hall and Nico Hischier. Also, Marchand's still out, right? What? Yeah, those are your toes. Yes. So it looks like, Marchand's still out. It's going to be Danton Heenan up on the top line with Bergeron and Pasternak. I do really like this line tonight against the Devils. It's probably up there, top 10 for me. Again, I'm not huge on using Boston on a huge slate just because their depth is a bit suspect. The Devils are a good team. I think there's better spots, but I definitely wouldn't blame you if you went, Bergeron, Pasternak, and then like a Charlie McAvoy. Secondary lines, I'm not overly thrilled about. It's really top line or bust for me for Boston. On the Devils side, I'm really not overly interested in the Devils tonight. What? You got it. They're, middle of the road. They're, a little over 17,000 to full stack. I just think, there's better ways to spend that salary tonight. Again, Taylor Hall is an elite player in the NHL. If you want to one-off him, I'm certainly on board with that. But other than that, I'm really not interested in the Devils tonight. On the blue line, Krug is out, so Charlie McAvoy or Zdeno Chara would be the choice for Boston. New Jersey, Butcher or John Moore or Severson Again, I don't think you really need to go there.
What's another one that?
In net, yeah, Kudobin, 7,100, I think you can make a case for in a GPP. Corey Schneider at 8,000. I don't know if I want to spend 8,000 for goalie tonight. I think I'll be in that range right below that. I think there's better options in the 7,700 range. But again, if you're going to use Devils and you think Boston's depth is poor and they're only going to put up 1 or 2 goals, I think you can play Schneider.
5. I'm counting.
All right. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We are still in the 7 o'clock games. We have the Flyers traveling to the Islanders. What's up? Flyers traveling to New York to face the Islanders. Yeah, I know. Flyers are on a back-to-back after losing to my boy Jacob Markstrom and the Canucks. This is a better matchup for Philadelphia once tonight. They are back-to-back on the road. They are very expensive. I'm personally not going to go back there, but this is a very good spot for them. I think you can make a case for them for sure. The Isles are an elite team defensively. They're going to match up with Tavares, who isn't very good. Okay. Okay, so Philadelphia won, definitely in play. Okay. I wish Philadelphia, too, had a better line because the Barzal line isn't very good defensively. They are super cheap. I think you can one-off Simmons. He has been struggling, but you can go there. I like Ghost at 5,300. I think he has to, score on the power play to pay off. Provorov sees a ton of minutes tonight, so I don't have a problem with him at 5,000 either. You want to punt some people, Brandon Manning's not too bad. Hag at 2,900 sees a ton of minutes. He had a decent game yesterday. Sanheim at 2,800. You're good. On the Islander side, I really like the top 2 lines tonight. I like attacking teams that are back-to-back on the road. I think the top line is in a good spot. I think the second line's in a good spot. I think you can use either, depending on how you build. I think, this is a good spot for them. I'd use Nicoletti if you can fit him at 5,500. Boychuk's not too bad at 4,400. Calvin DeHaan's not a bad punt at 3,100. In net, it's going to be Thomas Greiss against Brian Elliott. Brian Elliott had to come in last game because Neuwirth got pulled. I think Elliott is a decent goalie. If you're not using the Islanders, you can take a streamer and a GPP on Elliott. I don't know if you have to go there. Thomas Greiss, 7,700, I think you can use in GPPs. Again, just based off the fact that Philly's on back-to-back. They're on the road. I know it's not a far trip, but, the Flyers have been struggling recently. I think you can make a case for him for sure. Relax, buddy. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Vancouver Canucks traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Penguins. Vancouver's on a back-to-back. They beat up on the Flyers last night 5-2. It's going to be Anders Nielsen against more than likely Matt Murray. Pittsburgh's always in play. I'm just beating a dead horse here. What can you... Crosby line's in play. Malkin is he out or is he a game time decision? Malkin's a game time decision. I think Pittsburgh's going to be pretty yeah, Malkin's out. So yeah, it's really the Crosby line or bust tonight. Or if you want to use Phil Kessel as a one-off with like Letang or Justin Schultz. I think the Crosby line is probably going to be a little bit chalky. I'm not going there myself just because I don't like using the Penguins. But Pittsburgh 1 is definitely in play tonight. If you can fit them with Letang, 5,800, I'd do it. Otherwise, Justin Schultz, he's certainly going to see Vancouver isn't very good defensively, so I wouldn't say better or worse. I think, he just he's going to carry the team more, so I think probably a little bit better. If you can fit Letang in, 5,800. If not, Justin Schultz is a good punt at 3,800. On the Vancouver side, not well. I mean, okay. Pittsburgh is one of the worst defensive teams. I think there is merit to using the Brock Besser, Bo Horvat, and Sven Barchi line. They're cheap. They had a good game last night. They're young, so I don't know if the back-to-back really affects them. I think you can go back there. Again, I'm not huge on using teams back-to-back, but you can definitely make the case for Vancouver 1. That's really the only Vancouver line I'd be interested in. And I'd use Alexander Edler on the blue line or Michael Del Zotto. I think it is Del Zotto. Or no, Edler's on the second power play. No, Edler's on the power play with Besser. Whatever you want to call that unit. I mean, I'd use Edler, Del Zotto, or Pouliot. Preferred Edler. In net, I don't really have too much interest in either of these goalies. I mean, Anders Nielsen at 7,000. If you're not using Pittsburgh, could be a GPP play. Yeah, Derek Pouliot, not a bad option. Matt Murray, I'm not interested in paying up for 8,100 for him. Vancouver can score. I know they are on back-to-back, but not too much interest there. So let's move on to Ottawa Senators against the Washington Capitals. Not a huge fan of either of these teams because Washington sucks. Ottawa's been underwhelming. It's going to be Braden Holtby against Craig Anderson. I think there is a strong case for Craig Anderson in that tonight. Washington has been playing very poorly lately. They aren't good in their own zone. I think this is a game where Ottawa can come in and win. I think you can make a case for the Ottawa top line. I don't mind that play. I just Guy Boucher is just a clown and likes to mix up his lines. Broussard, Dzingel, and Stone is not a bad top line. Duchesne is with Pyatt and Ryan, which doesn't really interest me. And Hoffman, of course, is on the third line again, which sucks. But I just don't like how they put together their lines. If I had to choose one, it'd definitely be the top line. But, I definitely want some Erik Karlsson in this game. Yeah, it was short-lived, and Ottawa won for Hoffman. I do really like Erik Karlsson in this game, coming off 2 poor games for him. His price is way down at 6,600. I think if you can fit him, I'd definitely get him in. Yeah. From a Washington perspective, I am really not high on the Capitals at all. If you want to use the Ovechkin-Kuznetsov line as a mini, I think you can do it with Karlsson. But really, other than that, they've been struggling. I'm not high on them at all. I like Craig Anderson tonight. If Washington burns me, they burns me. They're not going to put up, a St. Louis Blues type performance last night where they, crush GPPs if you don't have them. There's so many teams. There's so many other teams in good spots. I think you can go there for sure. You can just fade them for sure. If you're feeling really strongly that Ovechkin's going to break out, you can use them. I think they're going to be fairly contrarian tonight. So again, I like Craig Anderson in GPPs. I also like Braden Holtby in GPPs, although I'm not thrilled about paying $7,900 for him. But if you are going to use the Caps, I think you can use Holtby. Whew, we are still in the 7 o'clock games. So let's move on to the next game tonight. We have the New York Rangers traveling to Carolina to face the Hurricanes. Again, not overly interested in this game as a whole. Okay. Driving me bananas. I think you can make a case for the Rangers top line. Again, I'm not huge on using the Rangers on the road in Carolina. Carolina's a defensively sound team. Avery, please stop. Carolina's a defensively sound team. The Rangers are a mess. They put, Matt Zuccarello down to the third line. Zibanejad, Kreider, and Buchnevich is a decent line. The second line doesn't really interest me anymore. Hayes, Nash, and Fost. Again, Rangers not too high on my list tonight. I like Darling tonight for that reason. He's cheap on DK. He's cheap on FanDuel. I think you can use him in GPPs for sure. Carolina, the TSA line would definitely be my target tonight. They're probably, right behind my top tier plays. The Rangers aren't good defensively. Lundqvist has been playing okay, but I think the TSA line keeps rolling. I don't know if they're my favorite option tonight, but in GPPs, I think you definitely can have some exposure. Justin Falk, 4,600, is kind of waking up. Jacob Slavin, 4,000. Noah Hannafin, 3,500 would be the defense man of choice in that order. I think there's always merit to using Shattenkirk for the Rangers. He is their power play quarterback. He is a little bit pricey. I don't know if you need to go there. Lundqvist, 7,800 doesn't really interest me. I think this is a good spot for Carolina. Carolina does put up a lot of shots and sometimes does struggle to score. So, Lundqvist could be seeing 35, 40 shots tonight. I think, that's enough for a GPP flyer. I wish he was cheaper. If he was like 74, 7,500, I think I'd have more interest. But at his price, I'm not overly thrilled. So let's move on to Calgary, traveling to Columbus to face the Blue Jackets. Again, don't have too much interest in this game at all. Bob is the best goalie in the NHL. Sound like a broken record because I say that all the time. I think he shuts down Calgary tonight. I really don't have any interest in Calgary. I mean, you can make a case for Johnny Gaudreau, that top line, because they've been playing lights out. They're going to be, contrarian stack tonight. Middle of the road play for me. Just not overly interested. Same, Calgary 1 and Columbus 1 are kind of in the same boat. They're right around the same for me. You can lump Calgary 2 in there as well. I like Mike Smith at 7,300. Cheap Mike Smith is always a favorite of mine. If you want to use Dubinsky, Jenner, and Atkinson, I think you can do that if, you don't think Mike Smith is very good. Again, I don't think Mike Smith is a great goalie, but at his price, I think, he has the capabilities of shutting down a team. I'm not a huge fan of the Columbus second line. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Artemi Panarin, and Josh Anderson. I wish Nick Foligno would move up, but, Torts is an asshole. So, all in all, I'm probably just going to cross this game off my list. I do have some interest in Bob. I do have some interest in Smith. Smith and GPPs for sure. Bob, you can make a case for in any format, although I'm not going to be paying up for him in GPPs. What? So let's move on to the next game of the night, which I think is going to be the next couple of games. I think they're going to be targeted pretty heavily. The Chicago Blackhawks traveling to Tampa Bay to face the Lightning. It's going to be Vasilevsky, butchered that name, against Corey Crawford. To me, when I was researching this slate, Tampa was a clear favorite. Like, they stood out more than anyone, unsurprisingly. They are super expensive. They're about $22,000 on DK. They're middle $24,000s on FanDuel. This is the thing, right? This could be a spot where you get them a bit lower owned, just because they're so expensive. They're hard to fit in, even with some value lines. I really love Tampa tonight. This isn't like the other few matchups. I think this is a great matchup for them. Chicago isn't very good defensively. I think Crawford's a little leaky on the road. I wouldn't, force Tampa into my lineups, but if you're making multiple, you definitely have to have some Tampa exposure tonight. They could be slate breakers, although, with so many teams, they would have to go absolutely bonkers. They put up a Blues-like performance tonight. I think, they maybe break the slate. But on a 15-game slate, I think, there's still going to be 15, 20%. Can you differentiate elsewhere? Of course you can. If you want to fade because you've been on the fade train for, just hoping they, come down to earth, their PDO, comes down below my weight, then, you can fade them. Yeah, that's going to be a really popular build. Tampa Bay 1, Nashville 2. I think that might be the most popular build to get in Tampa Bay. But, we'll see. I think a way to get contrarian with Tampa Bay is get them in with Hedman. That gets really funky for the rest of your lineup, but it is possible. I also like Tampa 2 tonight. I think it's a good way to get exposure in a high ownership game to some lower ownership. Braden Point, Yanni Gordy, and Andre Palat. I like them as well. Alex Killoran is always an interesting one-off because he's on the power play. He just doesn't have a set line because they always go 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. He is cheap. It is an interesting play for me. I don't know if I'm going to go there, but it's always interesting to think about. Hedman, 6,400 is expensive. If you get them in with Tampa 1, I think that is going to be a little bit contrarian, all 4 of them. It is really hard to fit. On the Chicago side, the top line for Chicago would be my target. Sorry, my screen's... Yeah, Tays, Saad, and Panic. Obviously, you can use Anisimov, Schmaltz, and Kane. Both lines are in play. Again, I'm not huge on using the Blackhawks. This is a tough matchup. Vasi's a very good goalie. Tampa Bay is extremely good at home. Not overly high on Chicago, but I totally understand because this is why I would use Chicago. See, the Stamkos line is probably going to go up against the Anisimov line to get him away from Tays, so that leaves Braden Point to go against Tays. The Point line is very poor defensively, and that's why I favor the Jonathan Tays line for Chicago. On the blue line, I'm not a huge fan of Duncan Keith, but he is cheap at $4,700. Seabrook at $3,900 is a good price, even though he's slowing down. I really like Gustav Forsling at $3,300 as well. I think he's a good punt. In net, Vasi $8,200 doesn't interest me at all. I don't want to spend up for goalie tonight. I think you can if you're using... it's almost impossible to fit. It's almost impossible to... Yeah, Gustav Forsling's my boy. I love Gustav Forsling. Vasi $8,200, man, that's tough because if you're putting in Tampa Bay 1 and Hedman, it's gonna be almost impossible to fit Vasi in there as well. I think you can make a case in the GPP. I'm not going to do it personally. Corey Crawford at $7,000, interesting. He has the capabilities of shutting down this team, standing on his head. You can have a... I mean, if you're putting 20 lineups, I might have a little bit exposure to Corey Crawford just because of this price with his potential ceiling. Again, I don't think Chicago is a very good team at all. They're poor defensively. I think, Tampa Bay is going to light them up. I think this could be a high-scoring game. Okay. But, that's how I feel about the goalies. If you're MMEing, you want, if you're using the Blackhawks, I think you can have a little bit of exposure to Crawford. We have made it out of the 7 o'clock games, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, I'm almost done. We can, party like it's 1999. The next game of the night, we have the Montreal Canadiens traveling to Nashville to face the Predators. Montreal's on a back-to-back. They lost 3-1 against the Stars. It's probably going to be Antti Niemi for the Canadiens against Pekka Rinne for the Predators. So what the fuck? I have always said, if Niemi's in net, stack away. Love Nashville won tonight. I think they're going to be, yeah. If you want to burn some money, well, listen, I'll get to Niemi in a second. But you want me to wear it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have any eyes. I can't be a Ninja Turtle while doing my show. Nashville one's definitely one of my top plays tonight. I think they're going to have maybe even the highest ownership of the night because of their price. Ryjo, Forsberg, and Arvidsson. If you're going to use them, Yossi's still on the second power play unit, which doesn't make sense, but they do correlate 5-on-5. I think you can use Yossi. Subban's $1,100 cheaper. He has been playing much better of late. You can use either. Avery, you gotta make a decision, up or down, and live with it. I think you can also still use Matthias Ekholm. He is getting a little bit pricey at $4,400 for him, but he has been white hot lately. Yeah, this is a narrative for Subban. I don't think he doesn't need any more motivation to get amped up for a game. He's 100% go all the time, so you can do that. Nashville 2 is interesting as well. Let you fit in Tampa. Turris, my boy Fiala, and Craig Smith. I think they're going to be popular as well, but they're going to get another good matchup. I think you can use either of those two lines. All the defensemen that I mentioned before are in play with that line just because Fiala and Turris are on the second power play with Yossi. Craig Smith is on the top power play with Subban. Subban plays 5-on-5 most of the time with the second line, so you can go there as well. I love Pekka Rinne tonight. I know he is $7,900. You want to sit on my lap?
Yeah.
I love Pekka Rinne tonight at $7,900. Here, you don't need this. I think Montreal coming off a tough game yesterday, back-to-back. They're frustrated. They aren't very good. Easy. I think you can go there for sure. On the Montreal side, I like the Montreal top line again. I think you can go back there, Pacioretty. But, yeah, it's okay. But I'm not really interested in Montreal back-to-back on the road tonight. They're struggling. Niemi's in net. I think this could be an ugly game. Okay, so stay there. Okay, so let's move on to the next game. Oh, let me talk about Niemi real quickly here. He sucks. Don't play him. No, he's $6,900. I know I talk about leverage goalies sometimes. Nashville's going to be chalky, and you can leverage the field with the opposite goalie. Yeah, this doesn't apply here. Antti Niemi is not good. He's not going to be on the team once Price and Montoya come back. This is just to give, Lindgren some rest. If the game gets out of hand, Niemi's going to be taking one for the team tonight. I think you just, don't even entertain playing him. So let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the Dallas Stars traveling to Colorado to face the Avalanche. Dallas is on a back-to-back. Ben Bishop is going back-to-back, and it's against Jonathan Bernier. This is interesting. I think Dallas is in play. Yeah, he's like a minion right now. Ugh. Here. I think Dallas is in play, even though they were on a back-to-back. I don't mind either of the top two lines. It looked like at the end of the game, they put the top line back together, but I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think it's going to be Sagan, Shore, and who did they move up there? Richie got moved down, right? I forget. But I like Jamie Benn, Radulov again as well. Spezza, that was it. Yeah, sorry. Spezza moved up with them. I like that line. I think that's my preferred Dallas line. Again, they are back-to-back, and now they're on the road, so it's not a huge target for me, but Spezza, Sagan, and Shore is a really nice line that I like. If you can fit Klingberg at 5,900, I do it. You know, Esa Lindell is getting a bit pricey. He's up to 3,800 now. I liked him better when he was down below 3,500, but he's a decent punt. Stephen Johns at 3,200 is a decent punt. I also don't mind, you know, Janmark, Ben, and Radulov. On the Colorado side, they're middle of the road play for me. It is Bishop on the back-to-back, so that does bump him up a little bit. McKinnon is getting a little bit pricey. He's up to 6,200. I think, you know, you can definitely make a case for him as a one-off, or if you want to use the full line, Landeskog is up to 5,700. Mikko Rantanen's 4,700. It's a bit pricey for a middle-of-the-road stack, you know, but I do like Nathan McKinnon tonight. Tyson Berry, 4,700 I like. Eric Johnson, 4,200. And Samuel Girard, if you need... Okay, we'll go up and... You want to go up and I'll meet you up?
Yeah.
Okay. And Samuel Girard at 3,800 is a decent punt option. In net, I don't know if you want to go back to Ben Bishop at 7,500, back-to-back on the road. You can. I probably won't. I think the top line for Colorado can put up a couple goals in this game. You know, Dallas is better defensively. It's not the best matchup for Colorado, but again, the back-to-back factors in for me. Bernier, I have no interest in. I think I don't know if he gets lit up, but I think I'm almost done. You can go up. I think this is a game where he sees like 24 shots, gives up 3 or 4 goals, and so I really don't have much interest in Bernier. If you're using Colorado, you're all in on Colorado, and you use Bernier in a GPP, definitely you can go there. I'm not going to, though. Colorado D-men, like I said before, Tyson Berry would be my top option. If you need the extra salary, Eric Johnson at 4,200, or talented rookie Samuel Girard at 3,800. Let's move on to the next game of the night. We have the San Jose Sharks traveling to Arizona to face the Coyotes. Yeah, Coyotes. Kind of like San Jose in this game. I'm not overly thrilled with how the lines are together, but it is the Coyotes. I think that Timo Meier got moved up to the top line. I think Timo Meier is a very good talent. He just needs to get the minutes. I'm not a huge fan of Joe Thornton, so if you're going to use the top line, I'd go Timo Meier, Pavelski, and then Burns if you can fit him. Burns is due. Like, he's overdue. He has like 80, 90 shots without a goal this season. Like, it's something ridiculous like that. And it looks like Tim Heed's going to be out. So, well, again, we're going to have to wait and see what the beats say. My sheet has Thornton, Meier, and Pavelski. I hope it's Meier. LeBanc doesn't really do much for me. I much prefer Meier. But if that's the case, my preferred target for the Sharks would be the second line, Couture, Donskoy, and Hurdle. Definitely, if you can fit them in with Burns, that'd be great. I like San Jose, too, tonight as a unit. We're almost done, bud. You're doing good. With Heat out, I think Pickles, Mark Eduardo Vlasic gets a bump up. He's going to see some power play time, 3,700. Martin Jones. I think you can play him in cash for sure. It is pricey. I think I like using Arizona at home. I think they can score. But yeah, you definitely can make a case for Jones and cash on FanDuel. On the Arizona side, okay, that's maybe where I got confused. I hope it's Timo Meier, but which would bump up the top line for me. But if it is LeBanc, my preferred play for San Jose would definitely be that second line. For Arizona. I don't really have interest in Arizona tonight. I don't think you need to go there. You can, but they're cheap. I don't like how their lines are put together. I don't mind Stepan, Perlini, and Reeder, just super cheap. I think this is a good matchup for the Sharks. I don't mind the Dvorak, Domi, and Duclair line. Again, huge slate. I think there's definitely better options. You're going to get them for sure under 1%. If you want to get a little contrarian, they are at home. They do play better at home. Ronta at 7,000 is probably going to be a fade. I know he's won 3 in a row at 6,800 and 6,900. Maybe you can go back there. So the Sharks are banged up. I don't like that top line. I have no idea why Keller's on the third line, but I wish I knew. Ronta, I think you can take a flyer on GPPs if you need the salary relief, so I'll leave it at that. But in this game, I want to get some Burns exposure if I can fit him, and definitely some Sharks too. And Timo Meier, if he's on the top line, 3,100, it's a great price for him. So we have made it to the 10:30 games. We have the Vegas Golden Knights traveling to Anaheim to face the Ducks. Yeah, the Ducks. It's going to be Johnny Gibson against probably Malcolm Subban or Legacy. They're both 6,900, but I'll get to goalie in a second. Let's talk about Anaheim first. I like that top line tonight. Grant, Perry, and Raquel. It is Legacy. Hold on. I'm not a huge Ducks guy, but I think you definitely can use that top line tonight. They are pricey. Derek Grant does bring down the price a little bit. He's only 4,100, but they're still a little over 17,000. It's a decent late hammer. I think you can go there. Defensemen are always tough to pinpoint on the Ducks, especially with Cam Fowler back now. So you have Brandon Montour at 4,200. I think he would be the preferred play. Cam Fowler is also in play at 4,100. And then you have Hampus Lindholm and Sami Vatanen. I think you can make a case for all four of those, depending on what you need with salary. Salary to the wind, I'd go Montour. If you need the salary relief, I'd use Sami Vatanen. I like John Gibson in that tonight, 7,100. I do like some of the Vegas lines tonight, so I think it'd be GPP only for me. I'd probably avoid him in cash. I do really like the Golden Knights' second line tonight. Carlson, Riley Smith, Jonathan Marchessault. Marchessault, is, as the Vegas people call him, the Corsi God. If you look at his advanced numbers, they are excellent. I think you can definitely play that line tonight. I definitely prefer using that line on the road. I think, they have good chemistry together. Smith and Marchessault played together at Florida last year. Carlson is, coming to his own now that he has a top six role. I do really like that line tonight. On D for Vegas, I don't know if you really need to go there. I don't mind Nate Schmidt at 3,700 or Colin Miller at 3,600. No interest in Legacy tonight. If it was Subban, I might have minimal interest in the GPP, but that's about it. Yeah, it's your backpack. So let's move on to the last game of the night. We have the Winnipeg Jets traveling to LA to face the Kings. Of course, always the Kings with the late hammers. Kings are a mess, it looks like. Looks like it still is Kempe with Pearson and Toffoli. I know they flip-flop Trevor Lewis there for a little bit. Not a huge fan of the Kings tonight. These lines are just kind of meh. I'm more on the Winnipeg side. I like the top line. They're expensive, so I don't have too much interest. I think there's better spots for sure. They're going to be getting Kopitar. I don't like stacking against Kopitar. It's just not something I like to do. For the Kings side, if I'm going to use a Kings line, it's going to be the Kopitar line, which doesn't thrill me. I don't mind Kopitar as a one-off, but he's $7,000, and that's really pricey. Kings' second line is okay. They're really cheap. I think, they do have some value. It lets you fit in, the Tampas. Just not thrilled with how they've been playing, but, you could definitely make a case for going there. Again, not overly high on Winnipeg's top line, just because they're going to get Kopitar. Winnipeg too, okay. I think, they're a little too pricey for me. I think, Steve Mason's a decent GPP play at 7,400. I'm not thrilled about that either. But you could definitely use him in a GPP. Hold on, bud. And then Johnny Quick at 7,800. Minimal interest as well. I think you can take a flyer on him in a GPP. We're almost done, buddy. Like 2 more minutes. You want to hold the Gatorade? Okay. So that covers the 15-game slate. Did it in under an hour. Anyone have any questions? What is your strategy in terms of bankroll? I'm a one lineup guy, and this is a really tough slate to narrow down to one lineup. But I am playing my normal amount tonight. Some people like to go light on a 15-game slate because they have a tough time narrowing down, and I don't blame them. If you don't like how the slate's shaking out, I think you can go lighter. For me, I'm going my full bankroll tonight. Well, my allotted bankroll for tonight. Josie and Perry or Subban and Burns. I like the second one a little bit better, Subban and Burns. Yeah, I talked about this last night a little bit. At first glance, I thought the DK contests were good. But then after the slate ended, then I looked into it a bit. I got really pissed. And they really dropped the ball. But hopefully the contests are going to start growing here. Hold on. I'll load up the goalies for you in a second. Yeah, so what I do is I make one lineup and I put them in my GPPs that I play. That's what I did last night. That's what I do every night. I think top cash game goalies, are going to be Martin Jones. What 2 players for mini stack in Nashville? Just any 2, like salary doesn't matter. I'd go Arvidsson and Yossi. Arvidsson and Yossi. Top cash game goalies in FanDuel, I'd probably go Martin Jones, Sergei Bobrovsky, and Pekka Rinne. No, not in that order. I do like Dubnyk and Anderson as well. Definitely Devin Dubnyk and cash. I do like Craig Anderson as well, but that's more of a GPP play for me. I wasn't listing in order. Carolina 1 or Nashville 1, who do you prefer? You throw ownership and salary to the wind. I'm taking Nashville over Carolina. I think Carolina's a sneaky good play. Best late game line for GPP. For the 10:30 games, I like Vegas 2, Anaheim 1. Yeah, it's weird. I think I'm going to be using Tampa tonight, to be honest with you. I found a pretty interesting way to get them in. I also really like Minnesota 2 tonight. Excuse me. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. The next time you see me, I'll be in California doing a show. For the 15-game slate on Friday. Okay. Yes, Mike Smith definitely in play for GPPs. Washington's not good. All right, so Avery has hit the wall, so I'm going to wrap this up a little early. JT Hornquist, Barkov, JVR for cash. Barkov, JVR. So I'm going to wrap this up. If I didn't get a chance to answer your questions, shoot me a message on Twitter. I'll try to get back to you. Again, the premium chat for DFO has gone to Slack. It is growing. It is nice. We talk throughout the slate. It is fun. So make sure you sign up and hop in. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'll see you out in California, and we'll see you Friday. Hopefully you guys win tonight. Good luck, everybody.